So we'll call the meeting to order. Today is December 2nd, 2024, and this is a meeting of the Capital Outlay Committee.
Recording in progress.
The Zoom chat will not be monitored. Participants who wish to speak must raise their hand icon until the chair asks them to unmute. Note that this meeting is being televised, streamed, or recorded by Bourne TV. And if anyone in the audience is recording or videotaping, please acknowledge such at this time. Okay. Our Zoom meeting ID is 813-8818-6891. And the password is capital. And just to restate, because we're being recorded now, today is December 2nd, 2024. And we do have 3 members present, so we have a quorum. The first item is we note that John O'Brien is absent, and the first item on our agenda is the library trustees in facilities. Mr. O'Brien.
It is I.
Mr. O'Brien is present. Library trustees?
Thank you. My name is Todd Benedict. I am a trustee of the Bourne Public Library, and I'm also the chairman of the Library Facility Study Committee. A mouthful there. I strongly urge that we consider funding this project and getting to town meeting simply because the building is 100 years old. In 1924, when it was constructed, it was a school building, and in 1985 converted to a library. During that conversion, the building was chopped up quite a bit. Classrooms were built with there's load-bearing members that can't be taken down at this point in time. Where I'm heading with this is the building's 100 years old, and it's pretty close to its usable lifespan. Recently, last year, we did a major make-safe project with our front facade. If you're familiar with that big front facade, it was actually in danger of collapsing. There's serious water penetration through all the grouting in the building. Everywhere you look, there's issues with this. And currently, we are under contract with a company called Johnson & Roberts Architecture. They are doing the feasibility study, which includes schematic designs. It's a 4-part feasibility study, a total renovation of the building, expansion of the building, a demolition and rebuild, and a relocation. So there's 4 parts to this that we're looking at, the architectural firms are looking at. The building, as I said before, is in pretty rough shape. There's several reasons for that. Number 1 being the age of the building. The water penetration, as I've mentioned before. Poor maintenance falls into this. The building has not been maintained properly, and windows were mounted on rotten wood frames years ago. Everywhere you look, there's problems with this building, so we're looking at all of these things. And without getting to town meeting and getting the town votes, we're dead in the water.
So you're requesting $150,000.
That is correct, sir.
To develop a plan to move forward.
That is correct.
All right.
The next stage would be design documents.
Okay, but that's going to be a separate request.
Yes, that's
later
absolutely
on.
correct. But this is to get us to that. next step.
Yes, so the feasibility study currently is examining, like Todd said, the 4 options, and it's involving a really comprehensive community engagement plan. As right now, there's a survey out for the public to weigh in on what they like about the current location versus what the possibilities of what they need for the future. And if that is something that can be on the same site and within those 4 options that Todd had listed, or in another location, or any of the scenarios. But what is before you for the capital request is for the actual, once the feasibility study is complete, and then the community knows kind of the direction moving forward, this would help, this is to fund the design and OPM for whatever decision the community is making for the library's future. Okay.
Thank you.
And currently, we're not in ADA compliance. The second floor has a load-bearing issue, and it's not, the public is not, it's not a public space. So there's lots of problems with the building, and we'd really like to move forward and give the town of Bourne a library that they could be proud of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
With that opening statement, it doesn't involve you, sir. Go ahead, sir. With that opening being said, I'd like to make a public statement to everybody. We met a couple weeks ago with town officials, Board of Selectmen, the school committees. It was made very clear to us that this is going to be a very tight fiscal year, and it is, they made it clear that it is the responsibility of this board and the finance board to look very closely at all requests. And with that being said, I know that we have looked at these requests today. We've gone through them. We will have a lot of questions for different department heads. Please do not be offended. We're doing it because we've got to really take that serious look. We've been told that we have to rely on our responsibility is capital outlay to evaluate everything before us today, and we're prepared to do that. So it's going to be a long day, I think. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Yours was straightforward as far as I'm concerned, but that's okay. Next one is Recreation Department, Recreation Committee.
Thank you.
Regarding 2 parks.
Good morning. I'm Jim Linsky on the Recreation Committee. I live in Pocasset. There are 2 things that we're bringing to you today.
And my first question for you, sir, is where are these 2 parks?
Oh, yes.
So that everybody knows.
Well, I'm going to address these 2 projects, and I'm going to leave it up to Liz and Katie to talk about funding and timing and applications and so forth. Let's talk about Chester Park first. Most people think of that as Mo Beach. However, the Mo Beach Recreation Area is actually on Shore Road where the baseball field is.
Right.
The Chester Park is the recreation area within the village of Mo Beach that is setting on the water.
Is that right behind the old
Chain-
railroad station?
Yeah, right behind the
Okay.
old railroad station.
Good, thank you.
And we feel that it's can be the jewel of recreation areas on the south side because of its location. It's the only recreation area in town that is on the water. So there is a tennis court, 2 tennis courts there with pickleball lines down, which is in major disrepair. Cracks that are very wide, so wide that a couple years ago we had to make a decision whether to lock the courts up or try to temporarily fill those cracks for safety reasons. And they were filled with cement. That surface, it was determined, was too far gone for the rehabilitation project that we just completed on 4 other locations. So that surface has to be totally redone. along with the fencing. There is no handicap accessibility into those courts. That's one item in that location. There is a beautiful basketball court. Again, the setting overlooks the water. However, because of its location and its design, it is covered in sand most of the time. And anyone that wants to play has to deal with the sand, remove the sand, so it can be dangerous there. We don't want to remove the basketball court. We need to address how can that be safer if, and if necessary, relocated on the property. There is a small playground which also needs to be addressed. Closer to the water, there are a couple of chairs, a couple of benches, but there are no tables. There is a field, and as far as I know, the only use of that field is some yoga classes that are not recreation sponsored on nice days over the weekends in season. Another major problem is, two other major problems is drainage. In a significant rain, the courts get flooded and a big portion of the field gets flooded. That needs to be addressed. Another item which needs to be addressed is the parking. There is, in my opinion, no identified parking for this recreation area. Cars park around the fence, down a road that heads to the water, but there is no specific parking lot for this area. We have a feasibility study that is ongoing. The feasibility study is addressing 4 locations, and we've determined that this should be the first one done. We can envision, this village started out to be summer cottages, and now, because of renovations, they're year-round, they're beautiful, it's vibrant, and this community deserves a first-rate recreation area.
Okay, if I could just interrupt you. So according to the roster that we have, there is no price in our chart on this. Do you have a price today?
Well, as far as price and funding and applications and timing, Liz will address that.
So,
Want that now?
yes.
Please. So we want to know what we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sure. So this application is eligible for CPC funding,
okay.
which that is the intention moving forward. The current feasibility study is that the Recreation Committee and Department and Administration is working on right now with our consultant. The Rec Committee and Department worked on several different options or a list of what could be placed at Chester Park. They looked at all 4 locations, but because Chester Park is on the agenda for today, that's what, and they've identified as the top priority. So they've created a list for the consultant to come up with several different scenarios. And similar to the library, there's going to be a very robust public participation in examining 2 separate options that the committee as well as the consultant is placing what can fit into the area and what are then the supporting needs such as parking and other like accessibility. That's going to influence obviously the price tag of the design as well as the construction. So hence why we have not gotten to that point yet, but by the time that town meeting comes, we will have a more definitive cost estimate from the consultant based upon the public's input. So we're anticipating, I don't know, like 2 months, 3 months, we would have probably that. So definitely by March, we will have.
So that's going to be a CPC.
It is
request.
CPC, yes. It is not off of the general fund. It's not off of free cash. It's not a borrowing. It is within the CPCs, either the recreation open space or from their general reserve that we're requesting the funding from.
Okay.
And this is also based upon the needs assessment that the Recreation Committee conducted and finished up last year in January. And so this location was identified, and so at last town meeting, the feasibility study funding was funded by CPC for 150 for the 4 locations. So they have already gone through multiple steps to get to this point, and so now this is going to be for the design and construction.
Now, will the second request also come out of CPC?
Yes.
Okay.
But, just a comment. Did we lose sight of the fact that CPC is tax money?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Right. Well, so my thought on that is, we're not gonna take a vote today on something that's gonna come before us under
I
CPC.
understand that.
You know, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it, so.
Wayne, if you would like to have me kind of give you the funding plan up front before you listen to the presentations, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know.
Sure, yes, I think it'd be helpful
Okay.
for everybody.
Okay. So for recreation, the 2 requests, the funding plan that I am recommending, both of these requests will be applied for as CPA projects. So the Chester Park is to be determined because it's in progress. And the courts will be we're recommending 400,000 to go through the CPC process.
So CPC hasn't been approached yet.
No, capital's going first. And the new financial policies that were put in place at the end of last year, there's a requirement that if it's a town-owned asset, so both of these are town-owned properties, obviously. If it's a town-owned asset that is going to be seeking CPA money, it has to go through capital first. So rather than going and getting the budget first, they come through us, they come through capital, and they come through my office, and then they're green-lighted to go to CPC. So we're not sending anything that's town-owned asset to CPC unless there's agreement that it should be funded.
Okay.
And the CPC will begin the process for the annual town meeting warrant articles, John, will be starting in January, the application opening timeframe. So then they have their public hearings and their pre-hearings in February. So, yeah. And like I had mentioned, I know this is tax money, but it is, because CPC is specific for open space or recreation or housing, or historic, it fits into the category, and that's why it's reserved, set aside for those particular projects. That's,
One of the things that occurred to me was when we talk about CPC, is I remember when they made, in fact, I think Barry was here, made the presentation to spend $2.2 million to buy the property on County Road. I just got the impression they didn't have much money anymore, but maybe they do. That's their business, not my business. Okay.
So, so because that was not coming up through a town department, they had already gone.
Oh,
So
I
that's,
remember.
that's
I
kind of the
remember that, yeah.
opposite of what we're trying to do. And certainly for town-owned property, we want to make sure that, you see it first, and you say, okay, go ahead and apply to CPC.
Great. Would you like to give us some background on the second location, sir?
Absolutely, thank you. The second location is out back here. This area is the only total recreation area here in Buzzards Bay. There are 5 what we refer to as assets out there. There's a youth baseball field. There is a larger field that used to be called a softball field. There is a playground. There is a all-wheel court which is now progressing for redesign, enlargement, and a complete do-over. What we're addressing today is the basketball court. A few years ago, we tried to put a project together for everything. Designs were made, we had meetings here, the price tag was really high, and that didn't go anywhere. So we're trying to do it piece by piece. The basketball court out here was originally a tennis court. The cracks out there are similar in nature and dangerous to what I described at Mo Beach. The court itself, I was just out there, is restricted within the existing fences, and there's very little room between the baseline and the sidelines and the fence. That can be a danger. There are 2 baskets out there, so only 2 baskets can be used at a time. I envision that as a it is, by the way, still used and used a lot. There is some moderate lighting out there. I envision that court to be used extensively for not only recreation play, but league play, both youth basketball, high school basketball, and adult basketball, where leagues are formed and played at night under the lights, and possibly additional baskets on the side for practicing. And it's just one of 5 areas. If we don't address this out there, it's just going to be in disrepair and eventually locked up again, which is a shame.
So, not to interrupt you, but I think we're on the same page here a little bit. You mentioned that the prior proposal that you had made had an extremely large price tag. I believe it was $10 million.
Yes, sir.
And one of the concerns that we raised at that time was the town did not have a definitive plan for permanent maintenance of the resources that you're putting out there. So I would hope that going forward, the same problem that we had at the library, there is not a good maintenance program, preventive maintenance. So I would hope that in a future presentation, you can address that issue for us. Because I think that was a hang-up for several of us.
That's an issue. That is an issue for all our areas, all over court, which is one of the reasons why they're all in disrepair. The DPW does the best they can to help out, but yes, indeed, a plan for maintenance needs to be done, and and we will address that.
Great, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name's Katie. I'm the Recreation Director. I wanted to make a point. The construction of the new court will be using post-tension concrete, which has a 25-year warranty against any structural cracking.
Right.
So all of the plans that Recreation, the DPW administration will be pushing forward through outdoor rec will come with newer technology and a better maintenance plan.
Now, not just this court, but also the tennis courts, the pickleball courts.
Correct.
You're going to be using this technology going forward.
Yes.
So we're looking at possibly a 25-year plan in most
Correct.
construction going forward.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a lot more dialogue now in relationship between administration, rec, and DPW. So all of these projects that are before you for recreation have actually been vetted internally with a team looking at it and also making sure that we know what to do as far as maintenance and the impacts, positive and negative, for all the types of resources.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm Roger Maialini. I'm the chairman of the rec committee. Jim did an excellent job. He covered everything I was going to cover. But what I want to do is just say that for the past 2 years, the rec committee has been very involved. The select board asked us to do the assessment of all our facilities in town. And Jim, along with 2 other people on his little group, the ones that went out and inspected all these facilities we had in town, brought it back to us, and we rated them. So I just want to thank the committee for, and Liz. They've done a great job in doing the assessments and gotten us to where we are now, where we can bring forward ideas for improving all the recreation sites in town. So I just want to thank them for that.
Well, I think, and we thank you for the effort that you put into it. I think that with the new fire station that we had talked about, I think that brought to the forefront some of the conditions at many of our facilities relative to maintaining them. And so looking forward, maybe we can put together a plan, a long-term plan for whatever we're doing. And from a financial standpoint, so that this committee can feel comfortable with a program going
Yeah,
forward.
absolutely. That's our goal, is to make sure we have a maintenance plan going forward.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, so my understanding is we have one price for
Tennis courts.
there's a price of 400,000 on this court, correct? On the basketball courts. And that's gonna make it a six hoop court, is what I read, correct? Yes. Okay. And then we'll get a price sometime in the future for Mo Beach. Okay. Everybody on board with that one? No? All set? All right. Public schools.
So I'm happy to run through the funding plan first and then turn it over to Jordan.
Great.
So I am recommending full funding for all of these projects. So I'm recommending that the carpet be funded at $55,000 from free cash. The
Yep.
elevator be funded at $250,000 from free cash.
Yeah.
The bleachers be funded at $400,000 from borrowing. The minibus be funded at $120,000 from free cash. And the OPM for the solar project be funded at $50,000 from free cash.
Okay.
And Jordan is on Zoom for you to talk about the projects.
Good morning, Mr. Geist.
Good morning, thank you all. I apologize for not being here in person. I have an auditor on site that I have to be available for. And Dr. Joe sends her regrets. She's not feeling well this morning. The first one on the list is the flooring replacement at Bourne High School. This will cover the auditorium, the guidance suite, and the athletic suite with new flooring. The cost for those three areas is $55,000. Broken down for the auditorium at $30,790, the guidance suite at $12,300, and the athletic suite at just under $6,000. Most useful life for carpet in this kind of situation is between 5 and 8 years, and these are all well past their useful life.
Okay, excuse me.
Just one question. Having spent some time at the high school one time or another, what's the athletic suite?
So, probably a little bit of misnomer. It includes the coach's room, the athletic department office, and the administrative assistant office.
So you
Used
still,
to be the old superintendent's office, I believe.
well, not that far back, because it wasn't the superintendent's office in the 1990s, I can assure you of that, but when you're talking about offices, you still want to go to carpet?
No, that's why I changed. Originally I was thinking that way, but I did change the wording to flooring to give us those options.
It just makes more sense to me. Hardly anybody does carpet unless they have to anymore, so.
Correct. The carpet does have sound dampening qualities, so that is one thing that we'll look at, especially in the guidance suite. People having confidential conversations in there, and any kind of resilient flooring you put down does cause some noise to travel a little bit better, but it's one of the things we're going to take a look at.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that one?
I'm all set on the carpet.
Thank you. The next one on the list is the elevator refurbishment. We've been spending more and more keeping this elevator up and running. And this is for $250,000, about $50,000 for design and $200,000 for construction. And this will refurbish that elevator to bring it up to more modern times and also replace, the hydraulics, which are our main issue right now. Questions on that?
I'm all set. You all set? Go ahead.
Thank you. Moving along to the Jackson Field bleachers. This request is for $400,000. We're currently at 75% design. This will replace the existing bleachers on the home side with the in-kind size, seated to about 610 people, as well as a bid alternate to replace the much smaller visiting side bleachers. This will bring the home side and the visiting side up to ADA compliance, which they are currently not. So there's some significant site improvements there as well.
Okay, Mr. Geis, can you just address, on the summary, it lists 40,000, and you're asking for 400,000?
No, it's 400,000.
Okay, the summary in
Oh,
says
the-
40,000.
Okay, no, the bleachers are 400,000.
Okay. You mentioned ADA compliance. How old are these bleachers?
They're old. They're old.
Okay. The summary that was submitted, the written summary, says that there was no structural defects in them. They did mention the railings being too low.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. So I guess the first question is, if there's no structural deficiency, why are we replacing them?
So they're very old. Currently, there's been some issues with some people having access to them in wheelchairs. And if you've ever spent any time at graduation or a football game or the soccer games when they're down there, you'll notice that there's one board on the metal frame where your feet go, which allows pretty much a 1.5 to 2 foot gap where children can fall through. So it's mainly a safety concern that we're also trying to address. That's been brought to us by the public. And that's the main reason.
Okay. Did we allocate some funds 2 years ago for bleachers?
Yes, for the feasibility study and the design.
Okay, that's what that was for.
Just an estimate. I'd say between 70 and 80 years.
70 to 80 years old?
Yes.
Before your time.
Well, I know, let's put it this way. I know it's well over 40 years because I started there 40 years
Right.
ago.
Okay.
So they're old.
Okay. All right, so the money that we had allocated before has been used for this design work that's now 75% complete?
Correct, sir.
Okay. 400,000, okay. Yes, sir, next.
Next is a request for one minibus. We've been on a every other year replacement program for quite some time, so we're pretty much caught up with going through that fleet once since during my tenure anyways. The price of these have escalated quite a bit, to say the least. So has the lead time. I think the last request, I think it was about 84,000. Now the purchase price is 103,987 for one minibus. This would replace a 2016 with 124,000 miles. The industry standard is to replace these buses every 7 to 8 years. And by the time this one came in, this 2016 would be, at or just past that threshold. It's taking quite a few months to get them in.
So how many buses does the town actually own?
There's 8 total right now.
And the other buses that are
Contract.
all contract?
So yeah, the town owns the mini buses, the small buses, and then we use the Cape Cod Collaborative for our large buses.
Okay. And what services does the town use their buses for? Is it regular transportation or is it specialty transportation?
It's all special ed transportation.
Special ed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Next, your solar array.
Thank you. So this is a part of the overall eventual project to get the roof replaced at the middle school, but we need to take off the solar arrays first. The contract ends this coming spring. So the town administrator made a very good suggestion that we should have a project manager to oversee this work. The work itself for the large solar array, there's no cost to the town. But due to the long history with the issues with the roof there and the solar probably contributing to its early demise, it's definitely good advice to have a project manager to make sure that the company who's responsible for taking off of the large solar array restores it to its original condition. So this project will largely cover the oversight of removing the large solar array and making sure that the roof is in good enough condition until we can get the new roof put on. A small portion of this money will also cover the small solar array. It's only like 3 or 4 smaller panels, but Con Ed is not, WRTE now, formerly Con Ed, is not responsible for removing those, so that'll be a cost, additional cost to us to remove those and then make sure the roof's tightened up underneath them. What you have to understand about the solar array is that each panel probably has, 20 to 40 penetrations into the roof, so there's going to be a lot of holes in the roof when they come off, and they all need to be adequately covered up and make sure it's not worse when the panels come off. So this request is for $50,000.
Okay. And how long is that project going to take?
It's all about timing. It won't take long. WRTE has 90 days from the contract termination date to remove the solar array and get the roof buttoned up. So the timing on this project is challenging because that contract comes to an end, like I said, this spring. Right before MCAS testing occurs for all the grades at the middle school. So we would like this work to start right after school and not impact the start up of school if possible. But to answer your question specifically, it shouldn't take that long to get them off.
It's fixing the roof.
But the work on the roof to repair it will probably take longer. And all they're obligated to do, just to be clear, is to restore the roof to its condition prior to them being put on.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions from the committee? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we have the police department facilities.
So I'm going to speak to this project.
Okay.
So,
I'm dying to hear this one.
yeah. So this one is going to need quite a bit of discussion, because clearly I'm coming before you for a $2.5 million borrowing project to tear off the roof at the police station and replace it.
This is the news station.
Yes. So the roof is less than 5 years old. Now, I'll be as open and as I can with you. However, I will say the select board and I are working with town council on a lawsuit, which will involve just about everybody involved in this project. So if I can't answer a question right now, it's because I have to get guidance from town council before, because I don't want to disclose anything now that will hurt our litigation chances. So I have a lot of documentation, and I'll start sharing that with you today. I will be able to share more in advance of town meeting, but I will be very cautious in not sharing things without having it cleared by council first. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start by showing you some photographs on the screen.
Honestly, from my standpoint, as long as I know that there's litigation pending or might be involved, I'm fine.
I think it's important for you and the public to start understanding this project.
Okay, go for it.
And there's absolutely things I'm comfortable sharing today.
Okay.
I won't share anything, I won't overshare. How about that?
Oh, no, sure.
I'm actually gonna sit here because I'm gonna use the hand to show you some things here. Thanks. All right. So what I want to talk to you about is if you can see these ripples in the roof. And I'm going to go through a series of photographs. Now, what I'd like to say is that it was just by dumb luck we are even aware of this. So we had someone here at the station last winter, it was February, who was in the parking lot and happened to look up and notice this. So the town is extremely lucky in that respect. So we had someone who noticed it, they brought it to my attention, and we have been going through an extensive design process ever since February to try to determine what is going on here. We have a very lengthy, detailed report that I'm not going to share today, but will be able to share before town meeting. And obviously, at the end of this lengthy engineering study, the recommendation is we need to take the roof off. So this is kind of what started it. And this is something that we don't know how long this has been going on. This could have been going on for years. This could have just started. We have no idea. It was just because we were lucky enough to observe it. It also is not always there. So depending on the sun, depending on the temperature, these ripples flatten out and reappear. So you could go out there and you wouldn't see them. We just happen to be there. Now that we know about this, we've installed installed a time-lapse camera, so we're able to see how this roof is moving. But and what is so critical about this is we saw it, and we were able to kind of dig into it before the town statute of repose passed. So you have 6 years under the statute of repose to bring suit. So we are within our statute of repose. So that is actually really important. So we are going to have a full-blown litigation effort to, I'm asking you to front the money, and then we're gonna fight to get the money back. That's our approach in a nutshell. But if we had noticed if we didn't notice this until 7 years, we'd be out of luck. So it's actually extremely lucky of the town that we caught this. And here's some more views. So what you're seeing here at these ripples are the structure of the roof is cupping, depending on weather conditions and depending on indoor humidity conditions. So, and it's pushing through, and it's projecting through the shingles, which is what we saw. So, and it's happening roof system wide. So it's happening almost all portions of the roof. Now, this is an interior view, and I just want to orient you a little bit. So if you can see the white cursor moving, it's a truss system roof. This is the bottom of the truss. Okay, so this is what we would consider essentially as a joist. And then this member here is the rafter. So that's the part of the truss that's going upward. And what we're seeing is along the rafters where the exterior portion of the roof system is nailed into the rafters, we're seeing evidence of moisture. Now, part of what we're still working to determine is how much of this moisture is indoor moisture that's not being vented properly, and how much of this is exterior moisture that's coming in. So we are still very much in an investigatory mindset here. We know enough that we know the roof is not constructed correctly, but we're moving forward with the replacement design, but we don't fully understand yet what is happening with the moisture in the building. But that's going to continue to be explored as we go through this process. And here's just another interior view. So here again, if you can see, the white arrow is the bottom of the truss, and then here are the rafter members of the truss. Same here, here's a rafter. And then the plywood sheathing is nailed to those rafters, and it's showing the evidence of the staining. So let me just. So I wanted to show you kind of what we're seeing and what brought this to our attention. I am asking for $2.5 million right now. That number, I'm hoping will come down. But at this point, I don't have enough information yet to be comfortable bringing that number down. I know, well, let me put it this way. I have a high degree of confidence that I don't think I'll need to ask for more than that. But what that number entails is going out and doing a public bidding process for an OPM. So we have to hire a new OPM on this project. So that would be funds for that go out and do that solicitation, go out and hire a new designer to redesign the roof system, and then go out to bid for construction. So right now, the drawings that are in your book, right now, those are schematic level. So those are very, those are very early on. Those are not, that's not the final design. Now, I have sent those schematic design drawings out to a professional estimator. I received that estimate back over the weekend. I have not had a chance to look at it, and I haven't had a chance to discuss it with the firm who prepared the schematic design. So that cost estimate is not included in your packet yet. Once I understand it, and once I've had a chance to talk to the designers, I will share it with you. It's under $2.5 million. But there's a lot of design work that is going to have to be done, because we need to match the new roof system to the existing wall system. So this is a much harder thing to do as a rehab job than as a new construction. So we clearly are not going to remove the structure. We're not going to remove the trusses. We're not going to remove the structural components of the roof. But we essentially are going to have to take everything else down and reconstruct this roof from the truss up and tie it in correctly to the wall. So it's going to be, it is not going to be an easy project. It's going to take a lot of design work, and it's going to take a lot of construction oversight to make sure all of those pieces work correctly together.
So one of my concerns is, we have another item coming up because of the moisture in the basement regarding the firing range. And you're saying a moisture problem in the ceiling, is it a total building problem?
No, so hang on. Don't automatically tie these together. So when you get to the gun range, you're going to hear that there were design decisions made by the design team to save money. That is a very different scenario.
Okay.
There are, on the 5-year plan, I have also outlined some other items that are deficient in this building, including possible HVAC system repairs. So there is not gun range, but the HVAC, the building HVAC. So the moisture in the building is not being managed. It's not being managed correctly, and it's due to a number of situations, including the envelope, which is the roof, including the HVAC system. The shooting range was actually a decision to not install air conditioning and save a little bit of coin, which in the long run was a very unwise decision. So now we have to go back and retrofit that system. But this roof system problem, this roof system deficiency, when that is corrected, should help alleviate some of the comfort issues that the HVAC system is not just able to keep up with as far as humidity in the building. But the building has to work together, but I can only change one system at a time. So we're starting with the roof system. We want to fix that. We want to get that right. We want to make sure that it is vented properly, that it's keeping the rain, snow, and ice out, and that it's exhausting the air, the humid air from inside out correctly. So that's this request in front of you for right now. And I don't want to I don't want to get too far outside of that because I have much less information right now on the HVAC system than I do the roof. I've been moving forward with the roof design. I don't have an HVAC system repair design yet. So that's going to be coming to you in the future.
Will it still be within your 6-year?
So we're going to sue for everything.
Okay.
We're going to sue for everything, but there is a level of urgency with repairing the roof. It's more urgent that we repair the roof than we repair the HVAC system right now,
Okay.
for the long-term life of the asset. Now, it may be that the litigation will run its course and we'll be able to use the proceeds of a settlement or an award to do the HVAC system and we won't need to come back to the town. But the roof is urgent enough that I want to ask the town to front the money.
I'll be careful what I say. Because I've been on the committee that built the building for probably 9 years, before we even designed it. I think we knew that we were seeing some moisture on the inside of the roof before, but we didn't know these things that you're now pointing, and I'm sure they're probably related. And I know there's all this litigation is going on, but I really do think no matter what we have to do, that's, we are so proud of that building that we can't let it have this serious a problem.
Right.
Yeah, this is a very serious problem.
Okay.
And the problems have been going, because the committee that I was on has still not been disbanded, because we never know when we're gonna have to have another meeting.
Okay. All right. I'm all set. You're all set, Tom?
Yeah.
Carol, you all set?
I'm all set.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm sorry for the bad news, but we're gonna have to deal with it.
No, like I said, I'm comfortable as long as I know that we're going forward with the investigation. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, moving forward, Police Department, phone systems, vehicles and fire range.
Oh, hi there.
Hello again. Thank you for having me. And for those that don't know me, Brandon Easton, Police Chief. So the 3 projects we have before you today are our 5-vehicle replacement plan, annual replacement plan. Our second priority is our phone system replacement, and the third one is the air conditioning. And I'll be able to talk about all those and elaborate more on what you started talking about.
Actually, I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt, Brandon. Can I give you the rundown on the financing plan here?
Sure.
Because there are some changes. So, the department is requesting $468,000 for 5 cruisers. At this point in the process,
468?
468, that's the request for 5. At this point in the process, I'm recommending funding for 3 cruisers at $280,000. And the funding source there is free cash. So, then the second request, the phones and voice recorder, the department request is $30,000. I'm recommending $30,000 from free cash. The HVAC for the gun range is still a work in progress. So the original department request in your book was for $600,000. The chief has received some additional estimates for this work. Right now, I'm recommending $475,000. And that is borrowing. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Appreciate that.
They have to run out of it.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
So on the vehicle replacement, the request was for 5. We're going to be going with the 3. So that's going to be our 3 patrol vehicles that we're going to be looking for replacement this year. I will caution with, as we're probably seeing with all vehicle prices in town, the prices continue to escalate year over year. And pricing that I'm talking about today is not locked in because the contract pricing has not been verified for next fiscal year. So these are best estimates for both the upfit and the vehicle cost. The vehicle cost I'm pretty certain on is the upfit cost that there could be some fluctuation. It may go down, it may go up. That the vendor we usually work with, they built in a 10% increase over last contract pricing, hoping that that will cover it. And I've thrown in a 5% escalation on that just in case it doesn't cover that.
Okay, can we talk about the cars a little bit first?
Yes,
Preliminary. So, you went to the Rams because they met the Green Community Standard?
Durangos.
Okay. And is this year's model still meeting that same standard?
So that's what that's part of what I want to discuss with you. This FY26, the 2026 version of the vehicle is expected to no longer meet that standard. It's supposed to be dropping by 1 mile per gallon. 21 miles per gallon is what the Green Community Standard is. It's supposed to be 20 miles per gallon. We're looking at our options there as to whether we can, in conversations with green communities, we may be able to apply for exemption because of the lack of availability of police vehicles. They've been open to it in the past. For 1 vehicle, I'd have to see how 3 vehicles work with that. The other options for us will be, there's only one other gas vehicle. It's a Ford Interceptor, which we went away from due to serious reliability issues that we ran into. Hybrid or electric are the other options, which we have serious concerns with having that in our fleet. So the exemption is what my preference is to move forward with the vehicles. We're very happy with the Durangos. We're getting to a point where we can start, after this year, we can start looking at transferring equipment over and saving costs.
Well, I saw that on your 5-year plan, you kept the same upfit cost in those years, instead of just a changeover.
Because I'm not sure where that stands right now. If Green Community says, nope, you have to pick one of these other options, and I'm moving into another vehicle. The other thing with the upfit that we learned with the Interceptor is even though we kept the same vehicle, they started doing minor tweaks to the size of the back of the car so the cages couldn't transfer over. So I'm not at a point right now where I'm prepared to reduce that cost. I'm hoping to. I'm just not at a point where I can do that now.
Okay.
On the 5-year plan.
So, I see that you have a proposal from, is it Raynham Ford?
From, it's Raynham Central, I think they're called Central.
okay.
But yeah, Central. It's a Jeep Dodge dealership.
Okay, but it's an independent bid, it's not off the state bid list.
Oh, you're talking 2 things. So the Ram is for the pickup truck, that is because of how they build their vehicles, that is based on their build up on the website, and then they will then send that out to their firm that handles the state contract pricing. For our Durangos, that is a firm price from them, from the contract.
Is that through McGovern, or is it?
Nope, McGovern does our upfit.
The
Raynham
upfit,
does
okay.
our vehicle purchases.
All right,
So McGovern
And
does
that-
not sell the Durangos.
okay, and the Durangos are off the state bid list?
They're off the state bid list.
Okay.
And if the Ram, which isn't going to be part of this cycle, but when we purchase our pickup trucks, it's either the Ram or or Ford, we still go with the off the state bid. They just how they price those out. But for what we're talking about today, where it's now going to be 3 patrol vehicles, we're only talking about Durangos. Those are off the state bid. It's purchased through Rainham.
Okay, so if I can refer to Marlene to educate us a little bit on green communities in terms of, obviously, there's certain vehicles in town that don't meet those standards. The police department falls under those standards?
They do now, yes.
They do now.
Yep.
Now, is that because we're calling them cars? Or can we get an exemption because we're going to a utility vehicle?
No, so green communities had an exemption, just across the board exemption for
Right.
pursuit vehicles. That ended 2 years ago now, or
It was
3
3 years ago, and then they
years?
extended it 1 year, and
Okay.
it's gone now.
Yeah, so the across the board exemption for pursuit vehicles is gone.
Okay, but who sets that, who is green communities that they
It's-
set it, the standard?
It is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
And has there been any action statewide to re-examine that?
I can speak to this. So I've reached out to Representative Zaros, and it's something that he's interested in talking about. I've also reached to other chiefs. They're really not interested in taking up the fight. They're having issues, but some have just decided to bite the bullet and take the hybrid and move forward in that direction. They've had mixed results as to whether it's been successful or not.
Right.
Others have just gone with the Ford Interceptor because it's easier for them to do that. But also on the Cape, there's not all towns are green communities either. So I think Sandwich is not, there's a few, but it's not representative of all the Cape communities either as well. On the vehicles that are exempt and not exempt, it was a public safety exemption, so fire vehicles fall under this, DPW, police, and there is a different mileage per gallon for a patrol vehicle / it's really the type of vehicle. So if you're looking at a patrol admin vehicle, it falls under the same group. It's not like pursuit or not pursuit. So if it is a pickup truck, there's 1 set of miles per gallon. If it's like a 2500, 3500, more towing capacity, it's a lower miles per gallon. But it still has to fall under there unless it's I would assume that a fire truck doesn't fall under there, and the fire truck probably is more familiar with that than I am.
But the Ford is still under?
As of with information available to me right now, the Ford is, but it is, we ran into serious reliability issues.
2 years ago, everybody ran into problems?
Across the board, I mean,
Right.
from rusting through, and even, but we've continued to look at that, parts availability, it's still not a avenue that I'm willing to look at for our fleet. And then that would be a complete replacement of all the equipment still, so.
Right. Okay. Why don't you go ahead and talk to us about the, do you have more on the cars?
Yep, the cars, it's, where we can, with any costs here, if it's something that we can cut out and not have to purchase something new, we will. We've just run into issues with, where I came to a point with our fleet where we were like radar units. We were moving them from one vehicle to another, and they got to a point where they were no longer reliable. This should be the last cycle where I have to do that with every vehicle, so.
Okay, so I've got to, you took them out of order, so I've got to just move down here a little bit. If you can give me 1 minute. I want to get to the upfit specs that came. So you are completely, you can't use any of the equipment off the other cars on the Durangos?
So on the Durango, so the vehicles that these would be replacing, they had a different radar, the radar system's not able to be transferred. The lights and sirens are a different, we've switched to, about 4 years ago, we switched to a different light and siren package. All the cars talk to each other, so when you go up onto the scene for the safety of other vehicles, sometimes you get the lights where they're just, it's that light inundation where the state police found there were a lot of accidents from people that they see the lights, they go into the bugs. So it actually, when multiple cruisers pull up next to each other, it starts syncing their lights, reduces the lower lights, it's a safety thing. So This is putting these new Durangos onto that light system, which is a company called Sound Off. So the lights are all replacement, the cages are all a replacement, is all new because it's a new design on the vehicle. What else in here? The cargo system, we didn't have those in the previous vehicle, so that would be new. And the computer docks, they last 3 to 5 years for those, and the ones that we're replacing, it's for an older type of computer, so it doesn't work, so yes.
So this is the first time I've ever seen ballistic door panels in any of the cars. So this is a new product?
Nope, that's been, ever since we switched to the Durangos, we've been having that's been in the.
That was in last year's too?
Correct.
All right, so,
It's the front driver's door and the passenger door.
okay, so that's $5,600 per car. Can those be used over again, or is it just a one-shot deal?
It's not added, it's not an upfit to the car, it's part of how the car is being built. So it's built into the door, we can't move that from one door to another. It's
So-
part of the manufacturer.
So with a base price on the car of $42,000, we're talking about a 15% upgrade just for the two doors.
That would be fair to say, yes.
So does the department have a armored vehicle?
No, we do not.
Okay, so if you have an incident, then you call the LEC.
If we have a major incident, yes, we would call the LEC. For these are not making them ballistic to go into an armored situation. These are to prevent from a random person coming up to the car and shooting the officer.
So what is the value of these doors? What will they stop?
A 223, a 40 caliber, a 9mm. It will stop those rounds going through the door portion of the door. Glass window is not. It's not a ballistic glass. It is built into the panel.
Panel. And how much weight does that add to the vehicle?
I don't have that information. I can look that up, but I don't have that available.
So I mean, what I'm thinking there is, first of all, the cost, $6,000 per car every single year is an awful lot of money.
It is.
But also, if it adds a lot of weight to the car, which vests are heavy, so I'm assuming these are solid panel doors. Are we defeating this whole green communities issue where you can't tell me that when you buy this Durango, it meets the green community, and then we do all these upgrades, that it's going to get that?
So what I can say is that the standard used by the green communities is the combined mileage per gallon from the manufacturer based upon the VIN number on the vehicle, not the value of the miles per gallon after the upfit. So
Right, okay.
The ballistic panels is not changing our compliance, to my knowledge or conversations that I've had with green communities, but you are making a fair.
Okay. Do you know anybody else in the area that uses these panels?
I do not. I haven't reached out on that, but so we started using these because I don't believe that the department has fairly protected our officers over the years, providing them the equipment that they needed to keep them safe. This is one of those things that is a easy thing for us to install into a vehicle to help prevent against an officer being ambushed, shot at, killed. And so value, yes, $6,000 per vehicle is a large bite of the apple, but it's much lower than us having to go to one of our officers' families and saying, I'm sorry, but we couldn't afford the $6,000. That's my thought, but that's for others to decide.
Has a car ever been shot at?
No, but we have an officer in town that has been shot.
I've had an officer killed and another officer shot, so I absolutely understand where you're coming from. So I respect that totally. But this is the first time I've ever heard of the ballistic panels, and I checked with other chiefs, so that was my question, who else is using them? Because the people that I talked to were not aware of them, so it's something unique.
And that's something, whenever we look at vehicles, we look at the safety features available. It's very easy, so a lot of the vendors out there will say, we bought 50 of these Ford Interceptors, pick the one off the lot, and that's what you're getting. We look at what are the features that we need, what are the features that we don't need, and on the Durango gives you the unique feature of letting you select those. Ford, when we've dealt with McGovern in the past, and when we've dealt with, there was another
MHQ.
MHQ, It was what was on their lot was what you got. And this has allowed there's safety features in the Durango that have helped reduce our accidents significantly, such as lane collision avoidance, lane keeping. That is price-wise, the vehicles, yeah, the ballistic makes us a little bit further, but price-wise, the vehicle is in line with the pricing of other vehicles out there. And these safety features have significantly reduced our costs for injuries, damage to vehicles elsewhere.
I have a question. I probably missed this, but you buy the Durango. What's your life expectancy on that vehicle?
So we haven't had a full set, we haven't had a Durango for a full life, but I'm expecting that these will get approximately four years. We usually have been doing 3 years. My goal is to get these to a 4 to 5 year cycle.
What I'm gonna do is I'm doing the math on this thing, and I'm saying to myself, if it makes an officer safe, it costs you about $1,000 a year. Just, to me, I'd much rather spend the $1,000 than I would have an officer.
Well, I was curious on all of the other upfit is moved from car to car.
I
You know,
understand
and
that.
So I wanted to make sure.
You can't take the
what this-
doors off and put
Well,
them on.
that's right. That's right. Okay.
And we always look at our pricing, aware that there's, we're not the only ones in town requesting, and I'm very aware of the escalation of our 5-vehicle plan. If you escalate over.
You're gonna be over
5 year-
$100,000.
It is starting to get, but vehicle prices are ridiculous, and we're hoping to see where we can in our 5 years to help mitigate that, whether we can start dumping it back down to 4 vehicles, but we have things coming up in town where, so we have a new lieutenant that provide a vehicle for. There's also a bridge construction job that's coming up, and with that construction job, they have talked about many details that are gonna be needed for that, and I'm concerned with the depletion of our fleet and not having vehicles available for that job.
So so it's your intent to keep some of these cars? How many cars do you have altogether now?
Yep, so right now we have 26 vehicles. And with the 5-year plan, it was to keep 1 vehicle in the fleet. I would not be doing 3. It would be a replacement of those 3 vehicles. So I would not be able to pursue that plan at this time. But moving forward, if we are at the 5, I'd like to keep our best vehicle, move that over to a detail car, and increase our fleet by 1 vehicle each year.
So how many of those vehicles are take-home cars?
Of those take-home, we have 10, I believe.
10 take-home vehicles? So that leaves 16 for the fleet?
That would be correct.
Okay.
Now, for fleet, those could be ones that are being used, assigned to people that are assigned but don't have take-home. But our SROs have take-home, our detectives have take-home, all my command staff does.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Anything else on vehicles, or?
Not at the moment. I'm trying to look through the list here a little bit. But go ahead.
Which project would you like me to move next in your list?
Why don't you talk about the phones?
Yes, so the phones. So a few months back, we were notified by our phone vendor that the product that was installed in our building was at end of life and had been at end of life for several years now. And specifically, the phone system is made up of a server, and it's made up of the devices, phones within the building. The server is end of life. The phones will not need to be replaced with this. That would be a much more expensive project. The server is no longer supported by the vendor. They will no longer be providing security updates as of the end of this year, meaning fiscal year. And with a voice over internet phone system, not having security updates is a significant concern for having attackers be able to get into your network, access your information. We'll also no longer be able to add additional users once it becomes unsupported. So as we get new officers, new staff, we would not be able to create voicemail boxes for them, whatnot. So at the same time we were notified of that, the state also was nice enough to notify us that 911 recorders that they provide all departments that are primary PSAPs, primary dispatching centers, which we have always relied on recording our phones, radios, and 911. They will only be allowing us to record the 911 calls onto. So when they pull that support, which is expected to be sometime before the end of this fiscal year, we will no longer be able to record the radios in our building, and the business lines are recorded by our phone system, but it will no longer be able to record our radios. They are vital in the prosecution of cases to have that radio traffic recorded. It's also vital in the protection of the town's liability to have that radio traffic should somebody say that we didn't respond appropriately, having all that information of what was said over the radio when officers were dispatched. So this proposed project, it doesn't increase the cost at all by having that 911 system issue. The new phone recorder will be able to handle all of those that radio traffic as well.
Radio traffic.
Radio traffic.
911 is still going to provide the recorder for the phones, though.
Correct. They're still going to provide that. They don't let us touch that device for those. 911, they're getting out of the business of providing extra, because I'm assuming it's tied into the cost of the data and everything else that they have on there. They are strictly going to be handling the 911. This system will handle the radio and the business lines and everything else.
So all you're getting is a server to replace the one that operates the phone system now.
Server to replace the one, and there's a few other hardware. I added a few phones onto this, but it was negligible in the cost. But there's, I think, 7.
So this is the
different phones.
town-wide phone system, correct?
No.
No.
No,
the
so you're
police
not
department
on
has,
the-
we
you're
have
not
a
on the
separate
town-
phone system, and the town doesn't have a call recorder either.
Yeah.
So the police
This
department's
is
the only
for them.
Okay.
Our system is individual to us. It has redundant items so when the town system goes down, our system stays online. So this would be a replacement of our server at our building and the various accessories tied into that.
Okay.
Any other questions on the phone?
John? All set?
Nope.
Range ventilation.
Okay, I think we kind of,
So this is, I want to elaborate a little bit on the things that I can talk about all about the range. So the range ventilation system is a separate ventilation system from the building ventilation system. It is designed that way purposely so that the lead dust and everything does not get pulled back into the building air and blown through the building. I will preface this by saying I was not part of the discussions as to the design of the range in our building. But the information that's been relayed to me is that during those discussions, a proposal was presented to those that were making the decisions to add air conditioning to the range in the basement. For whatever reason, it was decided not to move forward with that and just to put heat in the basement. Well, the problem with a heat-only system in a range is the range is constantly cycling through all of the air in the range and pulling outside air in and putting that into the range and then pulling it out. When the humidity outside is high, when the temperature outside is high, you're not conditioning that air, it is pulling all of that warm air in, all that humidity in, and dumping it into a cinder block room. And upon our first summer use during the summer, we had water dripping down all the windows in the range. The cement floor had puddles of water on it. The wooden doors actually absorbed the water and expanded to the point where we couldn't close them in the range, and the contract actually replaced one of the doors. And this goes from end of the spring until beginning of the fall, where I have to shut down the range because it's not safe to have a slick floor and be shooting firearms. So the range is unusable to us during the summer months. This proposed project is to, What I was hoping for was to be a nice, easy, okay, let's add a split duct unit, that's not an option. It is a replacement of the ventilation system, saving whatever parts they can. We started at 600,000. Another vendor said, well, you know what, part of this stuff can be saved. They're at an area of 475,000 is what they're anticipating it would fall under to make it so we can use the range year-round, condition the air, remove the humidity, and make it a usable space to us. Should we not move forward with this project at this time, I will just have to keep on shutting the range down when it gets to be too humid, too hot, and reopen it when it gets to be right
So
temperature.
what was the problem with the building when it was first built that you couldn't use the ranges?
There was an issue with the ventilation system in the range not working correctly. It kept on shorting out, and it took about 2 years to troubleshoot that. Finally, one of the town facilities was able to figure out there was a short in one of the wires that was crossed in the system. And since that time, we have not had any issues with the range system shutting down. So shutting down the safety features to make sure the air is constantly blowing through. And there's a green light on the wall, red light that says safe, unsafe. You'd be at the range, and after about 2 or 3 minutes of the range ventilation system running, it would shut down for no reason. It ended up being that wire was crossed. Very easy fix, but it just took a long time for somebody to figure out what the issue was.
Okay. So the current number is approximately 475.
That is correct.
Questions?
No. Just a side issue, I'm not surprised I had problems like this with my home that I just built, but that's a whole different story. I'm not surprised, is the point.
I'm not surprised any time, with all the buildings I've been involved in, that HVAC keeps coming up as a problem.
This will not do anything to the building
Yeah.
HVAC.
It's a separate-
Will it
really
fix
is a
the
separate
problem?
building.
Will it fix the problem with the building HVAC or the range HVAC?
Range, HVAC.
Right, that is what the proposed solution is to make it so our range is year-round usable, temperature kept below 75, and humidity kept at acceptable rates, and that's what we were told that this would solve.
All right. And could you just go over, you said you have a pickup in this request as well?
Not in what the the pickup truck and the admin vehicle are being removed from the request.
Okay.
Based upon that. Should the money become available, we can discuss that a little further. I can discuss it now if you'd like, in case it becomes available. But
Let's wait until it comes.
I figured, yeah. So this is strictly for the
We'll have
patrol-
better numbers then.
Correct. Hoping so. Well, this is strictly for the patrol Durangos.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anything else?
I think I'm all set. All set, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Fire department,
So I'm going to talk about the first one,
okay.
the new Southside Station.
What, do we have one of those?
Well, it depends on what day of the week.
Okay.
My first question is where?
So, as you know, we hastily withdrew our land article for 171 Clay Pond Road before the fall town meeting. Now, we didn't give up on that site, so we have been working
Too bad.
since then. Why do you say that?
My personal opinion?
Yeah,
It should never be there.
because we think it's a pretty good site.
I think there are, my opinion is, there are other sites that, for some reason, can't be considered.
Okay.
And that, you know as well as I do, that the station that's being presented is a really tight fit on that Clay Pond site.
Okay. So it is a tight fit. So we have been continuing to do our due diligence, and the seller has been, willing to work with us while we do that. So, there's a couple of things happening. The request before you today is for $18 million as a debt exclusion ballot article. Now, that is for the construction of the building. Now, as of last week, on Wednesday, or on Tuesday night, right before I left for the Thanksgiving holiday, we have received back our Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental assessments for 171 Clay Pond Road. Clay Pond Road site is on the Select Board's agenda tomorrow, and I plan on going through the findings for Clay Pond Road tomorrow with the Select Board. The site came back clean. We did a full workup. We did extensive testing, soil, groundwater, everything we needed to be confident that we were not going to get in a situation where we're assuming any contamination or pollution liability. So the site came back good. We also used this time to further develop the design for the infrastructure and site work. So the engineers have taken some time to look at the groundwater. There is a perched groundwater table approximately 7 to 10 feet below the surface. So what that means is they were initially thinking we would have to build a mounded septic system of about 4 feet above grade. They have since revised that to be between 2 and 3 feet above grade, which is actually a much more doable system and is not likely to need a retaining wall. So we are comfortable that we'll be able to accommodate an IA septic system. It is in the Phineas Harbor watershed for Title V. So we would be building an IA septic system, which is not surprising. And they have also determined that they would be able to build the infiltration chambers for the drainage, the stormwater drainage on site, and discharge the roof drainage and impervious surface runoff on site. So we are comfortable at this point building there. So we're comfortable that we can build the infrastructure and utilities and that it's a clean site. Now, the Select Board tomorrow will have to determine if they want, or if they're willing to call a special town meeting, later this month or at the very beginning of January, and move forward with purchasing that site. So the seller will not extend us till May, but they will extend us and work with us to do a special town meeting now that we have the results back. So if the station is going forward at 171 Clay Pond Road, and if the town meeting, we hold a special town meeting this winter for this one item, if the town meeting authorizes the money to purchase the property and we close on the property, then this $18 million request would be to build there. Now, if the town, for whatever reason, chooses not to go forward with buying 171 Clay Pond Road, then we would not be asking for this $18 million, because there's no point in advancing a design until we know the site.
So where is this figure of 18 million coming from?
This figure of $18 million is coming from the conceptual plan that the architect has designed, which is at 15,500 square feet. So that is the size of the building the town's program is driving. And that is the size of the building that our consultants, our OPM and our architect is saying that we need. So we've got the conceptual footprint designed, and that is essentially a very conservative estimate of more than $1,000 per square foot. So we're watching the bids and we're watching the estimates that are coming in for other stations that are newly constructed or under construction. And they are typically, right now, the bid numbers are around $800 a square foot. The estimate numbers are about $1,000 per square foot. So we're at that point with adding in time cost of money. So adding in an estimate for the fact that we're not ready to bid right now.
Okay. What, has the building committee looked at this? I mean,
No.
have they seen this conceptual plan?
Yes, it's the same conceptual plan the building committee has seen before, yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
it hasn't changed from
Has
that?
not changed, no. So it's the 4 double bay, 2-story station that we've been working with for a while.
All right. Okay, so we have to wait until after the selectmen move it forward.
Yes, so the ball is in the select board's court on whether or not they want to move forward with a special town meeting for site acquisition.
Marlene, what is the price of the land separate from how much the station would cost to build?
Yep, so the land acquisition, the purchase price is $1.5 million. We would also request additional funding for demolition and removal and replace of soil, so we could get the site essentially pad ready. So it's ready to turn over to the contractor to start building. So we would be asking for the $1.5 million purchase price, some soft costs for survey, additional engineering, demolition of existing structures on the property, remove and replace of the unsuitable soils. So we would be asking the special town meeting for approximately 1.75 or so.
I better leave it alone.
I can hear it coming.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question, these building projects are extremely expensive. And
My concern is not the expense. And Carol does not want to hear me again, I'm sure. But I just don't understand. I just, to my thinking, there are other alternatives to put that building on.
so, I mean, what I can say is they're not coming forward.
Yeah, nobody's coming forward. And
Let me
offering the
ask-
land.
Let me ask a question that Carol doesn't want me to ask, but did we or did we not purchase the land on County Road from the Barnstable County?
Oh, Dr. Julius Kelly Way.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, we did. Well, we haven't closed on it yet, but we're in the process. And the reason we're not coming forward and saying that's an appropriate site for the station is because it's too far south outside of
the
our
response area.
response time area. And I'm happy to invite Chief
Yeah, I-
Galanzi up if he wants to.
I know, but the response area worked from the station on Bowers Landing Road for years and years and years, all right? But now, less than a half a mile away, it doesn't work anymore. I don't understand that. And if I lived in Catomet, which I almost do, I'd be concerned about the station being down at Clay Pond Road.
Chief?
We've been responding now for a number of years out of Monument Beach, which is pretty much in line with Clay Pond Road, right at the other end of Clay Pond Road. And as I understand it, in addition to being outside our response areas, there were a number of other issues potentially with that site as far as desirability and usability for a station. That, I believe that was discounted by the
I
committee well
thought-
before I was on.
I thought and maybe I read it wrong, but I thought that property that we are purchasing had at least 15 acres that had no concerns about protected property.
Oh, my understanding
No.
is that there were a lot of concerns about, it was very limited.
So the Dr. Julius Kelly Way, I think there's just over 4 acres of unrestricted land. But the issue of concern is the access it would be a combined access with the senior living facility. And the topography makes it challenging, especially for safe exiting. But the shared point of access is something that we just do not recommend for a fire station. They need their own dedicated
Safe entrance.
safe entrance.
I give up.
Yeah, if you look at County Road, where they would come out from, that property, the road it's got huge curves right there. It'd be quite difficult to, make it safe enough, I think.
Well, I give up on it. I look at the Julia property and I say there are 2 buildings that obviously have to come down. They're falling apart.
Yeah.
And why you wouldn't have an exit and an entrance there, I don't understand, but that's okay. I give up.
I'll take that. Moving on, sir. Would you like to address your request for an ambulance and a brush truck?
Oh, and actually, let me do the funding really quick. So, ambulance 132, we're recommending $475,000 from the ambulance maintenance fund. The breaker, 127, $450,000 from free cash. And the shift command vehicle, $115,000 from free cash.
So when you make chief, you get a new car?
Well, I don't think it's yours.
Not mine.
That wasn't the deal.
Okay.
No. In fact, that's part of the problem is why we're here. But which one do you want me to hit first?
Your choice.
So I'll do the ambulance
Yep,
first.
Yep.
We need a new ambulance. We're looking at a 2-year build now, so I was trying to get these onto like a 7-year schedule. So that was my goal. This would be replacing a 2017, but we're now looking at like a 9-year replacement. COVID kind of surprisingly jacked things up. We got a couple of ambulances that we were fortunate to replace a few at the same year, but that's not going to be sustainable moving forward. So we're going to kind of get these onto a routine schedule of replacement. Like I said, this is replacing a 2017 ambulance, got over, I think, 167,000 miles. So it's time to replace it.
So, Chief, can you give us just a little background on the ambulance service? How many EMS calls are you getting per year? And more specifically, how many ambulances do you run per shift? Or you run a 24-hour shift, right?
Correct.
Okay. So how many do you run in that 24-hour period?
So we have 5 frontline ambulances that are ready to go. We have 2 frontline in Pecasset or Monument Beach on the south side, 2 frontline in Sagamore, 1 in Buzzards Bay. The way that we run them is all 3 stations are staffed, so we run 3 out the door right away, and then we recall additional personnel back. We have a 6th ambulance that we currently do not have license with the state, but it is a mechanical spare. So if we have a number of ambulances go down, we can relicense it immediately and put it in service. Because there were several years that at one point we were running 1 ambulance for the town because we had multiple ambulances out of service. So this protects us and keeps us that way. And like I said, we routinely, when all 3 stations are out, we recall personnel on the south side to staff that 2nd ambulance right off the bat.
So when you have 3 ambulances out, you do a recall, and that gives you a backup.
Another Yeah,
Okay.
correct. And if we have to, during the summer, we'll recall an additional crew in. And that helps us bringing the revenue back into Bourne instead of giving it to our mutual aid partners as well.
Right.
And as far as ambulance calls, I don't have the exact number, but we're well over 80% EMS calls.
I was just gonna say, are you running 85%?
At least 80, if not more. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's your medical type calls, your search and rescues, extrication, motor vehicle crashes, and routine medicals.
Just want to add one thing,
Yes, sir.
because you probably might notice the last month or so, I've had occasion to call these gentlemen, and they have done a super job.
Thank you. We have a great group of men and women out there that serve the town.
Great.
Very fortunate.
All right, so that's the ambulance.
Okay.
Brush truck?
So the brush truck, it's actually 129. I originally had it on my capital plan for 127 to replace. I am actually applying for an AFG grant this year to replace 127. Because in talking with the folks at FEMA, that has a better likelihood of being able to be replaced.
127
grant.
is what?
It's a 1993 Humvee
Okay.
that we got through federal excess property. I'm going to try for that only because that is an older vehicle. Believe it or not, a 1996 military truck may not get us an AFG grant. Our 1994 pumper that we went for this with Capital wasn't old enough somehow. Yeah, it's a lot. Normally it would be, but there's such a demand for grants out there that a 1994 engine was not old enough. And the 1993 Humvee honestly may not, other than we also have it as a military rebuild. So 129 is a 1996 military truck. We got it in 2012, outfitted it with bars, tanks, and a pump to go into the woods, knock trees down, and put fires out. It was put in service in 2014. A few years back, probably 4 or 5 now, we stopped the practice of putting people unrestrained on the back of a truck driving through the woods because it's frankly not safe. So it's kind of changed our entire dynamic of how we fight brush fires. And this truck is essentially obsolete. It gets there, it has water, but it's not, we can't use it the way it's designed to. In addition, in September, we stripped it of all equipment, took it completely out of service because it has failed a number of times. And the last quote that we have was $1,000 in new batteries just to get it started to diagnose what are the problems we're having with it. This truck, when we got it, replaced a 1971 military truck. We have a history of just replacing these through the military excess property program, which gives us free equipment, and then we upgrade it. But I'm looking to get a truck that will help us. It's a military truck, but it's completely rebuilt, disassembled, put back together, and it'll do a couple of things. It'll help us fight brush fires, and then we also can use it as a high water vehicle. Because some of the last 2 calls that this breaker responded to were to extricate people that got stuck in their cars in high water in December of last year. And if you can, I believe there's pictures in the application packet, but it's a big truck that we'd have to haul people up onto to get out of high water, and we're seeing more and more calls for flooding now. The truck that we're looking to get, it's an old troop hauler, like as I said, it's completely disassembled, redesigned, new parts put in it. They put a skid in it, which we may be able to take the skid off of our current breaker at a savings and put that in there. And then it also comes with a lift gate to bring people up into it safely. And there's tie downs for wheelchairs. There's seating for 28 people on the back so that if we have to go evacuate Scraggy Neck, Wings Neck, Academy Drive, we can get through the water better.
Okay.
And our personnel aren't sitting on it unrestrained going into the woods and tearing out trees.
I'm trying to find your. You got 10 pages of just upfits.
It's right after the description of the project. There's three pictures of the big old truck.
So it's after the ambulance, right?
Yes, correct.
Oh. Okay. So these pictures are the current vehicle that you have?
Yes, correct. The current 129.
Right.
And again, we can only ride with two people in the cab, and then the others were supposed to ride on the back. There's been times I've ridden down Scenic Highway and Route 6 in the pouring rain at 8 o'clock at night, unrestrained in the back of one of these trucks, and there's no place for that anymore.
Right. So, and then the conceptual pictures are of the new vehicle
Correct.
with the lift on the back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, that skid, either if we can take the skid that we have and put it in there, or the one that we purchased, depending on if we're able to pull that off, can go in and we can put people in around it, or if we know a storm's coming and we don't think we're gonna need that for firefighting capabilities, we can have that skid removed and give us more area in the back. And again, it gives us tie downs for wheelchairs, people that are mobility challenged, that we can extricate them a lot safer than in that other truck.
That's in the interior of the back of the truck?
Correct. Yep, there's fold-down seats, and then again, the
Right.
tie-downs on the ground,
Okay.
on the deck, excuse me.
Okay, go ahead, Chief.
And that's pretty much what I have on that one.
Okay.
I'm ready to, any other questions on that one?
All set? Is it? All set, sir.
Okay. So car 143, this was a 2017, originally bought as a chief's car and set up as an executive vehicle. It's not designed for primary response as an incident commander's car. There was nothing in the back to store any of the equipment. Our mobile radios are in the center console in the glove compartment that we have to open up to switch channels. It was moved to the deputy chief's command car in 2018. And again, I'm trying to get these on a 7-year plan for replacing our pickups, SUVs, things like that. We were trying for a 10-year, but it's not quite carrying us through. So Chief Eastup's having some difficulties finding a vehicle as well with the green communities. I've reached out to the Cape Fire Chiefs, and in speaking with the Orleans chief, their town's policy actually still has an exemption for public safety vehicles. And we meet for our December meeting this week, and the Cape Chiefs are taking that up as a discussion point because other communities are having the same issues that we're having. So the Cape Fire Chiefs want to kind of get that on everyone's radar to see what we can do to alleviate the process. Because right now I'm looking, we've always had SUVs. Some of the deputies are looking at pickups, some are looking at SUVs, and we're having trouble pinpointing it. The request I put in was specifically for an F-150. It will meet the green communities, I believe, still. And it's a rough quote with the upfit. And we still have to design that based on what we go with for a vehicle.
Okay.
The other thing I included in that was $15,000 for a tent, for an incident command tent, because there's been a number of times we've been out on the side of the road in the pouring rain, the snow, kind of open to the elements, where we need somewhere that we can kind of protect ourselves and other public safety people. And that should fit on the back of that. It goes onto the back of the vehicle, inflates up in 2 minutes, and we can get out of the weather and kind of be safe.
Okay. Anything else, Woody? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I wanted to hear from Joe. Oh, Joe.
He's trying to hide back there. Sewer Department.
So the sewer budget plan will be using retained earnings. So I'm recommending that these requests be fully funded using sewer department retained earnings.
Thank you.
So, thank you for having me, Matt Sawicki, DPW Director. So our first request is $88,000 of sewer retained earnings for a new SCADA system to control all the main sewer pumps and wastewater treatment facility. At this time, all the different facilities have older systems from the 90s with older technology and pump controls. Our goal is to design a system that will incorporate all of the pumps together and all of the systems together. It will involve major upgrades at the Main Street Pump Station and the Hideaway Village Pump Station, and minor upgrades at the new wastewater treatment facility, just so that all the technology matches. What it will enable us to do is monitor all the pump controls, monitor the levels, respond to alarms, and monitor the operations of the wastewater treatment facility, and kind of keep a closer eye on the contract operations staff, as well as monitoring the alarms more closely.
So this will be a monitor for all of the stations?
Yes.
And it's going to tie into one central location?
It'll tie into one central location at the wastewater treatment facility, and then we'll be able to monitor that from any place with an internet connection.
Okay.
Are there any questions on that one?
I'm sorry, Matt, and I just, this is design.
Correct, yes.
Oh,
So
design only?
This is design only, and you'll see the big money coming in the future years to actually build it.
The big one.
The big money.
Sounded kind of cheap, but that's okay. But I was going to take it.
Yeah, no,
All right.
the original plan was to do a design build, but the money didn't really, we thought we'd design it first when the cost came in.
Okay.
So the second project is to begin the replacement project of replacing all the grinder pumps and control panels and wiring at the 186 different grinder pumps, individual homeowners grinder pumps we have throughout the town. When this project was originally presented to Marlene and Erica, we had presented it as $150,000 of retained earnings and kind of implement smaller kind of do 10 to 15 to 20,000, 10 to 15 pumps a year. When I met with the Board of Sewer Commissioners last week, they asked if we would investigate doing a larger project instead of splitting it up over years, borrowing and doing one larger project. So although the technical aspects of the project will be the same, we may come back to you and ask if you're open to a larger project where the sewer department borrows. This happened all last week. I haven't had a chance to discuss it with Erica and Marlene. So I just want to preface that this original project was for 10 to 15 pumps to do, and then it was spread over 5 years. And it'd probably go longer than that. We have 186. We would prioritize them as we have 30 that need replacing right now.
I assume that out of the 186, they've all been installed at different times.
Most of them were installed in the early 90s, around the time Taylor's Point came in. And then
Okay.
around the time, I forget when the development around Town Hall was built, but they're all close to the same age. Some have been, only about 10 of all the pumps we have been completely upgraded with pumps, wiring, and control panels. We have replaced some pumps probably do about 10 to 11 pumps a year as they fail for different reasons. So originally it was a phased approach. We may come back with a more substantial one-shot approach.
Yep. And the real problem here is the electrical. So the electrical connections are not in conduits, and we're having electrical problems with the age now. So it's.
Will we install conduits when we put in the new ones?
Yes. Yep. And then in the future, we'll just pull new wires through.
You never know.
Yeah.
That is part of the scope of the project.
Okay. All right. That's all you got there?
Yep, for sewer, yep.
DPW?
Thanks for
So the funding for DPW, let me see, the F-550 dump truck, that is, we're recommending $156,000 from free cash for that. The department's request for drainage repairs is $600,000. I'm recommending we move forward with $400,000. And that's not because we don't have the work. We have an enormous backlog of drainage repairs to do. But this year, given kind of the budget constraints we have, I'd like to move forward with only 400 at this point from free cash. And the The project that Matt will describe for the intersection at Shore Road and Barlow's Landing, we're recommending $1,690,000. So 1,690,000. And that would be a borrowing project. So that would be debt. And that's the one we really kind of want, Matt will describe it, but we want your feedback on whether or not this is a priority for the.
I'll have a lot of feedback for you.
Okay,
So
so,
won't I?
so those are the three DPW ones, and then the fourth DPW one is Packer, and that is recommended at $439,000, and the funding source is ISWIM retained earnings for that, because that is a cost of the trash collection, which is offset by ISWIM revenues.
Okay.
So I'd start with the purchase of the 2025 Ford F-550 dump truck.
Yep.
With landscaping sides. So as Marlene said, we're looking for $156,000. This is to replace a 2005 similar F-550 dump truck with a plow and a lift gate. That vehicle currently has 161,000 miles on it. And we feel as though it's past its useful life. It's beginning to give us emissions problems and just starting to show wear and tear and is frequently out of service. So this is just a replacement of a truck. This truck is used on a daily basis. This is one of our smaller dump trucks that you see around town. They're used every day for landscaping, for tree work. This particular truck is used in the sanitation department for moving carts around and doing repairs on carts. So we do feel as this is a necessary at this time to replace this vehicle.
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
Can I ask you another question about, just out of curiosity? The trash collection has gone to the arm that comes out and grabs the barrels, which I think is a super thing, but do you have problems with those working sometimes?
Yes.
'Cause
I haven't seen them in a
never.
year.
every once in a while, I look out my window and there's a guy jumping out of the truck again, and I'm saying, those things must give you some problems.
Yeah, all of when the curbside collection system was reestablished in 2016 or 2007 is when they went to all the side loaders and the front loaders, and they constantly give us problems.
I know that going to that system has created created a lot less injury problems and things for your guys. So I think it's a great idea, but I see somebody hopping out of the truck again.
And that is the flip side, is that it is much more cost. We're spending a lot of money, and we do have a lot of vehicles that are down frequently. And that was kind of when we get to the purchase of the new Packer, that was kind of where we're going to touch on that too. But so if we're good with the truck, we're looking to move to the drainage.
Sure.
So
So why don't you do the drainage, and then the Packer will save Barlow's for last.
you want to say, okay, that's fine.
Well, at the end of your presentation.
Okay. So we're looking for $400,000 in free cash to start doing drainage improvements. Our budget is currently only $25,000 to do all the drainage improvements in town. And the most complaints we get through DPW are drainage issues. Whether they're just drainage systems that have failed, they were undersized, there's been development and there's more water shedding in certain areas. So in the past year, we've put together a list and a spreadsheet and kind of prioritized them. Most of our projects, I work with Tim very closely on the coastal issues. A lot of the projects you'll see in here are more just structural or design issues. They're not necessarily the large coastal issues that are the flooding of the roads when the tides come and we have the high king tides. So at this time, we've identified about $2 million worth of drainage repairs. And what we like to do is phase in these repairs. Some of these repairs are more substantial than others. Some of them need design. Some of them can kind of be designed in-house by our staff. So we have one project that's a priority on Woodland Ave that we'd like to do next year. And whatever money is left over, we will put towards some of the smaller projects. we will attempt to save money by using staff to install some of these. Some of them may be larger and might need to be subbed out. So for the drainage project, that's what we're looking for right now. And we will keep close track of the funding and where the money's going, so that as the projects go on, you can see, if we come back next year with another request, exactly which projects the money went to and exactly how the funding was spent.
So your work is prioritized, so you have a priority list?
Yes.
Great. We're all set to go on, I guess.
So the next purchase would be to purchase a new side loader, 33 cubic yard packer. It would be similar to the side packers you see out there that require 2 drivers, where there's lifts on each side that will dump the curbside, the recycling or the trash into the compactor, and it'll pack in. This isn't one of the front loaders you see with the one driver. We're requesting $439,000. That would be from ISWIM retained earnings. Thank you, Dan. We currently have 4 of these trucks in service. We're not looking to take any of the side loaders out of service. We're just looking to add to the fleet. All those trucks were purchased in a 3-year period of each other, and we feel as though they may starting to have issues of the kind of the mechanical issues going forward, and that we don't want to have them all fail at the same time and not have a plan in place to replace them. So we'll probably start spacing out purchases. It takes about 2 years to get a trash truck right now also. We purchased a compact loader. I think it was approved at the May 2023 town meeting, and we still have not received it yet.
Wow.
So that's another, we had originally had this request further out, but we felt as though it's important to bring it forward now, especially with the 2-year wait period, as we may not see it till then. So we'll increase our entire trash fleet to 10 vehicles. When we have the new compact packer in this one, we'll increase that fleet to 10 total.
So how many of them are down now? No.
Permanently or just for like, I mean, not permanently, there's 3 down right now.
So how many do you need to operate daily?
4 or 5 minimal. Different days require different amounts of trucks. But that's right now in the winter. In the summertime, we can use 6 or 7 to get the job done in the time. And one thing that we're still unsure of how it's going to affect us is the bridge project. If that moves forward, we're not sure if we may have to be in our best interest to leave trucks on one side of the bridge and have people who, we're not exactly sure how that's going to affect our operation either. So we want to make sure if we have to space things out, we can.
Okay. So the bridge project, I mean, from the last that I had heard, even if they get going, they're not going to get going until 2032, 33?
I think Sagamore will be a little before that.
A little before that.
Yeah, to start, yes.
Okay, I mean, the Bourne is not even on the radar for a date, for a target date, is it?
Right now, what they're saying is the Bourne will lag about a year behind, but we do not have secure funding for Bourne yet.
Okay.
So Sagamore has the funding secured, and I don't remember the most recent schedule for the Sagamore, but it will be before 34.
Okay.
I'll be very old then.
I tell everybody they ask me about the bridges, I said, don't care, I'll be gone.
And just one other matter on that is, most of our trucks are exempt from the Green Communities Act because they're over 8,500 pounds. However, there's more and more regulations come. There's going to make it harder and harder for us to buy any sort of diesel-powered vehicles. Right now, there's even buying the trash trucks right now may become an issue within a year or two, just by the regulations. They're aiming the regulations more at the manufacturers, but that's having a trickle-down effect to anyone trying to buy diesel-powered vehicles. So I just wanted to point that out as another reason why we kind of push this forward.
It is getting more complicated.
Right.
Certainly, including a trash truck will save the environment, for sure.
Okay. So now you'd like to talk to us about Barlow's?
Sure.
Not really, but we will.
So,
Don't waste our money.
as Marlene pointed out, this project has, we're looking, the total project we have estimated is $1.69 million. Of that, we believe we can secure $500,000 in complete streets funding. The way that project works, every town's kind of not entitled to, but they look to get about $500,000 every 4 years for complete streets funding. So right off the bat, we're hoping that as funding, we'll be able to secure to lower the price. The proposed project we're bringing forward to you includes as much safety features as we can. It is the full project. It includes upgraded sidewalks down Shore Road on the west side, on the right side of Graziella's, and improvements on Village Green to add parking and a sidewalk so we don't have cars parking on the sidewalk. It includes an additional sidewalk down Barlow's Landing Road to Wings Neck Road with a crosswalk down at Wings Neck Road to keep people from crossing at the businesses as cars come around the corner heading towards Shore Road up Barlow's Landing from the ocean. And it includes all the sidewalk improvements at the intersection and also down Shore Road towards the bridges, towards the Singing Bridge. There's a future project for a bridge that would include a sidewalk that we would hope to connect to the two and keep the sidewalk running all the way from the intersection all the way up over the bridge to the new kayak launching ramp. So it would include all ADA repairs and ramps. And the biggest issue, well, not the biggest issue, but one of the concerns of this project is there's a consensus that a four-way stop isn't needed. However, all of our engineering and design standards and counts and MUTC guidelines are saying that that's what's required there. And I think that that's not a totally popular opinion amongst the town, but at this time we feel it's also important as the DPW to bring forward the safest possible project.
So what statistics do you have currently on the number of accidents at that at the Barlow's Shore Road?
So the statistics of accidents are from 2018. I don't know them off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I know what does come up every time we've had this conversation with roadway traffic or with other entities. There's a lot of near misses that people see that don't get counted towards the traffic accidents.
Okay.
Those are what.
And I will agree with that. I mean, obviously, I live right there, so I say it every day, okay? For me to go any place, I have to go through the intersection. And you're absolutely right. The near misses are caused very simply by the distance of the perception, which can be easily taken care of. And you had numbers in here for $20,000 for taking down trees or whatever, removal. That's going to solve your problem both north and south of that intersection. I mean, that's got to be done, you know. Now, you've really expanded the whole project beyond the intersection to include Wings Neck. But again, you know, you've got all those bushes in the town's right of way, which is blocking the view of anybody coming down Barlow's. I mean, it just seems like these should be easy fixes if, you know, if we're doing our job right and looking at the cost of the projects. 1.6 million appears to be outrageous for this project. Is there any particular, what problem do you see at Wings Neck?
We definitely want to square the intersection up, just so we get complaints at the intersection.
Okay, just to make it more narrow?
Yes, so it's more of a right here, so more of a centralized turn, or a squared up turn. However, one of the other issues that kept popping up was the sidewalk. If you come down Village Way Road, the crosswalk was going directly across into parking lots. And the idea was to bring that crosswalk farther down away from the intersection for people that were going right directly to the beach.
Okay.
And that would also open line of sight up permanently to the intersection.
Is that a safety issue, or is it just nice to have?
Probably a little bit of both. I think the safety issue is the crosswalk right at the intersection. It's too close. Having the sidewalk, the crosswalk right at Graziello's to the hardware store, and then at the intersection, those are too close together. So we're trying to space that crosswalk out.
Because there's no sidewalk in front of the hardware store.
It could just, right, it kind of goes right into the parking lot.
for the-
If we're gonna do safety
people get
moves, we're
on.
trying to deal with that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no place to land.
To land, right, okay. All right. And I'm looking at the map now with your 4 different phases on it. 4, is it 5? 5 phases. Right?
Yes, those are
They're not phases.
cost estimates so that
Segments.
you can see where the money is going for each, yes, segments. Just so you can
segments.
see where the money is going
Okay,
for each
yes,
part
okay.
of it.
Right.
Yes, segments.
So when you talk about the uniform traffic standards, they have standards for stop signs, for number of accidents at the intersection. Now, my understanding is that the number of accidents is far less than what the uniform standards would require any action to be taken, correct?
The traffic counts was what makes it the four-way stop. It was the traffic counts
Sure.
brought up into the summer months, not even in the winter months. It's the traffic counts in the summer months that enacted the four-way stop through the design.
I don't have a real problem with the four-way stop. I mean, that's a stop sign. That's easy to accomplish. You know, you do that and you've got to repair the distance, the sight distance. Because especially with the elderly people coming out of there, and I'm not elderly yet, but that's, you know, but with them coming out of there, by the time they look one way and then look the other way, the car that they didn't see, because it's only 150 feet, you know, like for the tree down at the gas station, a car traveling 40 miles an hour is going to cover that in a second and a half, you know, to be at the intersection. So if you, until you repair that, you're not going to see what you really need up there.
So if I can, and I know John has comments too, but if I can kind of,
We control 2 of the votes here.
well, if I can kind of tell you what we are looking for from you. So the project that Matt has before you today, the $1.069 million, this is the project that we want you to see if the town is interested in using the $500,000 of complete street grant money here. Like, this is the project that we would have to design to be eligible for that grant. Now, if this is not the project you want to see here, we obviously have other options of making a smaller project 100% paid for by the town, no grant money. Like, this is kind of the minimum we would, that we think we need to be grant eligible. So if you don't, if you want to take the grant off the table and you want to talk about moving forward without a grant project, we have other alternatives that we can talk to you about. All of them include a 4-way stop. Our traffic engineers, our professional consultants, DPW, we are not comfortable presenting a project to you that does not include a 4-way stop. So that's, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Matt, but I think that is really the issue that we're at a standstill. Because there's a vocal contingent of people who absolutely do not want a 4-way stop here. Now, and that's okay. I mean, it's not ultimately our decision, it's the people's decision. But We cannot in good faith bring a project forward and say that it's a safety improvement without a four-way stop.
I don't have a problem with four-way stop.
Well, there's another person who uses that intersection just about every day of the week. I have no problem with a four-way stop there at all. But if I were gonna spend the kind of money we're talking about, I'd go right down to where County Road meets Five Corners. Because as I go through there, I feel a great deal less comfortable than I do at Barlow's Landing Road and Shore Road.
There's a design consultant, there's a traffic engineer involved. Who's that?
Environmental partners.
Okay. Have they recommended cleaning up the site distance? It seems like the site distance problem, what you're saying. I drive through there, not very often, but when I do, yeah, oh, by the way, I spent 45 years in traffic operations, like that. So I hesitate to say much because I'm gonna get trapped, I know I am, but, why hasn't the site distance been improved? By cutting down whatever?
Right, it's
Why
in
hasn't
town
that-
only.
As a trial. Who owns the bushes?
We own some of them, private property owns some.
Oh, that's a problem, okay.
But we do try to trim back in that area. We could definitely go, I mean, we have been asked to go farther and farther back each time when we look at the bushes that are on town property and the ones that are on private property.
So there's enough on private property that you can't touch that restricts the site distance.
And there's
Is that
some on
correct?
town property we could probably cut back more also.
Has anybody asked the private property whether they need to
They
save?
did some trimming up at the corner cafe for us after one of the last meetings we had. They trimmed some of those bushes up.
But it, okay, I mean,
We can continue to work better at trimming up, at cleaning up the site distances.
certainly it's on the opposite side of the street from Graziella's. Well, at the end of the property of Corner Cafe, those bushes there on that corner. Because when you're looking up, you can't see around the corner. You know, which would make it much safer if we could.
Very often I found that the simplest solutions did the most good.
Right.
Very often. So try to cut them down, right?
And the tree at the end of the gas station blocks that view down the street. But then that raises the question, when are you going to align the stop lines to the site view?
That's part of the,
Because it looks like on here, on the map you gave us, all right? It looks like when you're heading west on Barlow's, you've still got the stop line 50 feet before the actual intersection.
it's before the crosswalks, so you're still gonna have to creep up over the crosswalks.
Shouldn't the crosswalks be moved so that, because the cars have to cross the crosswalk before they can actually see the site? That doesn't make any sense.
All right. I understand what it's just,
I mean, there might have been a day in my life when I'd cite a car for sitting on the crosswalk and blocking it, you know? But in this case, you can't see it otherwise.
but we want the cars to stop before the crosswalk and then proceed
That's what I'm
slowly.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, technically, those crosswalks should be tighter into the intersection.
Okay, we can look at that.
I'm just saying, put that stop line in the proper place,
Okay.
so. I've got everybody confused right now.
We are entirely if you do not like this project, how it's designed, we are entirely comfortable with recommending not moving forward with it. I mean, we want your feedback and we want to know what you would like to see differently. We want to know about the four-way stops. We want to know about, pulling things into the center of the intersection. We want to know about, do you not care about the grant and you want to kind of design the bare bones improvements? Those are the types of
So
things.
if we don't approve this project, can we still get some of the basic I mean, in other words, can we get the four-way stops up there, and can we improve some of the site view?
Well, we would, most likely it would still be a capital project. It would be a much smaller capital project, but we would still need to come back to you with a capital improvement.
Why don't people want the four-way?
I don't know.
I know the church is not in favor of it, because when they let mass out, they're afraid they're gonna have backups. And also, there's just, they're afraid it's gonna slow the movement of traffic down in that area. Those are the two biggest complaints.
So that's 2 hours a week.
Well, that might not be a bad idea to slow the movement down.
Well, our opinion is traffic needs to be stopped at this intersection. People shouldn't be just moving freely through
Sure.
it.
You know, the church has a very easy solution. Go out the back entrance, and you don't go through the intersection at all. I mean,
There was a lot of requests to put a flashing yellow light, a hanging light, but those aren't utilized
Nope.
anymore. They're not gonna
That's
accomplish
not a
what
good
we need to
idea.
accomplish.
No.
But we can surely we can easily take more looks at this. This has been coming back a lot of times, and we just wanted to present a full project on what it would look like. But we can easily go back and take things off and take different looks at it.
I would have problems with 1.6 million for that intersection. That's,
And even with the state money, it's still $1 million project.
Yes, yes,
out
absolutely.
of our funds.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we beat it up.
Yeah, we beat you up enough.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. You could have been much more, thank you.
You might want to stick around, for a minute, Matt, because, oh, well.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was just going to say, because Dan is the master of, the presentations up here on how to get things done, so.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed a little switch here.
You're gonna have to deal with me.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So, did you guys get a 5-year plan?
Um,
I realized this morning that I don't think I sent you a 5-year plan.
We don't have the 5-year plan. But if you want to email that to me, I'll fix the book later this week.
And they saved the largest project for last.
So, for those of you who don't know me, Asa Mintz, I'm the operations manager over at ISWIM, also the chair of the ISWIM Building Committee. And this first project is a big one, especially, for the town and for ISWIM. So it'd be our new office and maintenance garage that is slated to be located on a 12-acre parcel to the south of the landfill. It was originally going to be located on a 4-acre subset of that 12-acre parcel, but we've worked on the mitigation in the last, 8 months or so to actually mitigate the box turtle habitat and clear the land. They are literally, as we speak, finishing the clearing right now. So this will replace our current garage, which is built circa 1967, somewhere in that park, 1970. So it owes the town nothing at this point, but it is definitely inadequate for what we do. And we, as far as the office goes, we've been living out of office trailers for, 20-something years, multiple decades. Mostly because we're like a mash unit. We always say we weren't certain of the life of the landfill. We didn't know where the landfill was going to end up, so we needed to be able to move, right? But now we have a master plan. So in 2022, we went through a big permitting process. That permitting process kind of laid out the rest of the landfill and what it's going to look like for the next 20 years. And now we've got predictable revenue. We've got a master plan, and we can move forward with replacing the garage and building a new office on the 12-acre parcel. So we're requesting, this is a request for construction funding. Last year we came in front of you to request just short of $2 million for OPM and design services up to the construction portion of this project. And so we're requesting $25 million, which is still the full amount from the feasibility study that we did back in March of this year. And we have formed a building committee. We've brought an OPM on board. We are receiving applications, proposals from designers this week, and we are hoping to award that contract this month before Christmas or right around Christmas. So
So is that through debt?
The 25 million is, yes, is ISWIM debt.
Okay.
we were thinking maybe part of it through retained earnings and part of it debt. We're not 100% sure, but
We're gonna, we'll plan on it all as debt, and if Erica doesn't need to borrow for all of it, then we won't. But we'll set it up that if it needs to be debt, it can be.
Right.
some of that has a little bit to do with what our business model looks like going forward. We're in the process of negotiating with CMAS to extend the contract. So that negotiation, that process, and what we work up with them, could have an effect on that as well. So
And their project, I'm sorry, their funding project will not be excluded. It will not be a debt exclusion on the ballot.
Okay.
So the fire station will be a debt exclusion, but this will not need to go to the ballot. This will be a 2/3 town meeting vote.
Just out of information, who's the OPM on this project?
construction management, or construction monitoring services, Neil Joyce is the owner of that company.
I know we've had some problems with OPMs in the past.
So we have been listening very carefully. I guess is what we'll say it is, we're taking notes, HVAC system check, so we're fully aware of the issues that have gone on in the last, 10 years, and whatever they were. We're going to try not to fall into those pits as we go through this process. And we think we have a pretty good, Tom's on the building committee.
Bill Joyce is not related to me.
Oh, good point. I think we got a good building committee. So Dan and I are fully engaged. We've got a lot of skin in the game with this project. Dan's been there how many years? 25 years now. So, it's our house. So, we're looking to produce a good product here, something that we have to live with. So,
Okay. And the life expectancy of this building? One?
well, 30 plus years. I mean, I can tell you the life expectancy of the landfill is, the landfill itself is 20 years, but then beyond the life of the landfill will be, a transfer station that'll be located on that same parcel. So, good maintenance procedures, a good building, certainly 30 plus,
I would say 50 plus. I mean, really what it's going to be on par with the DPW building. So it's a long-term real building.
Okay. Roll-off truck?
So we are a little bit running into the same issue that Matt's running into with this legislation, possibly with going to EV trucks that don't really exist yet. But aside from that, we have two roll-off trucks that we utilize. One's 26 years old. It's got 330,000 miles on it. One is 16 years old and has 114,000 miles on it. One is a yard truck. The older one is a yard truck. The newer one's an over-the-road truck. We generally have, through the years, we've just swapped these, right? So the newer truck, over the road becomes a yard truck. The yard truck gets traded in, and we get a new over-the-road truck. So that's kind of where we're at right now. 26 years old, 330,000 miles. We've had, some additional expenses in the last 5 years relative to the transmission, radiator, things like that. I think we've held on to it probably a little bit longer than we should have, mostly because our over-the-road truck is still a good truck, and we hate to make it a yard truck. But we've gotten to that point where we're starting to put money into the older vehicle, and it's time to get a new over-the-road truck and more or less retire our 16-year-old truck to do containers around site. So the yard truck just pulls containers off of the residential area. It spends a lot of time in and out of the landfill. So it's, you know, it's just driving in the mud and the dirt, you know, constantly. So it breaks down, you know, both, you know, I won't say it breaks down, but things break down on the truck frequently in that environment. So, so we're requesting $300,000 for that truck, and that'll be from retained earnings.
Yes.
All right? Your excavator?
The excavator, so much like the roll-off trucks, we have two excavators, and we sort of rotate them through as well. So when we buy a new machine, a new excavator, we use the new excavator in the dirt, on the landfill, around site, doing infrastructure work. The older machine usually goes into our construction and demolition debris building, which is a really harsh environment. And so that machine that's in that building now is 8 years old. It'll have 13,000 hours by the end of this fiscal year. You know, still a good machine, but it's ready. It's going to start to cost us if we hold on to it too much longer. We'd like to replace that machine and do the swap like we do with the roll-off truck, put the other machine that we have in the building. What we are looking to do is go up a size in this excavator. So with our vertical expansion and our horizontal expansion of the landfill, all the site work that we have to do associated with the building, a 30 metric ton machine is a much better fit for what we need. In the past, 20 metric ton machines have always done just fine for us, but we're kind of getting to the point, we're growing. We need a little bigger machine for this round. The one concern was that it wouldn't fit in the building because we need to have those machines interchangeable so that when one goes down, I can put the other one in the building. We will demo or rent for a short period of time a machine to make sure it works in that building as it exists right now. I don't see an issue with it, but we will try a 30 metric ton out in that building just to make sure we can squeeze it in the building. But I've talked to other people that actually have smaller transfer stations that run that size machine, and they have no problems. The old machine would be traded in. And that's about it.
And you're talking 500,000 for that?
Correct.
And that would also be retained earnings.
Okay. So then the last item is your landfill cap?
So the landfill cap, Phase 9 landfill cap project, as you know, we're in the middle of a vertical expansion right now. That is the entire top of the landfill. This is the first contract of probably what will be 4, so we'll probably be coming to you over the next 3 years, you know, requesting another section of that cap, another section of that cap for the next 3 years, 3 to 4 years. We have held a lot of landfill space open right now, so we're producing a lot of leachate. So we're kind of anxious to get this project underway. It'll be the whole west side of the landfill. When you first drive in, the scale all the way up that slope, an additional 40 feet on top of the grass slope that you see now, that will all be capped. And then part of that project will also be a gas collection system that will extend onto the top of the landfill. The total.
You're going to go 40 feet higher than where you are now?
We're kind of in the process. We're in that range of, we're not going a full 40 on the outside edges, but on the crown line, it'll be a total 40 feet higher than where we are now, yeah.
So will you always use that same entrance for the project, or as you get to your next phases and you head south in the landfill, will you create a new entrance further down and then fill in that area that's open now?
So right now, the landfill is laterally built out as far as it can go in the entrance. So
Okay.
there's been talk about possibly another entrance, but it's likely that will always be the entrance to the facility, and then the trucks are just going to have to travel that much further on-site south and then around into the landfill. I think it might be a little bit of a dream to say we could get another entrance there, but, you know, Never say never, but there's no plans to create another entrance, is the short story. What's nice about this and what's nice about a vertical expansion is it's going over phases 4, 5, and 6. Those, as far as funding goes, these are all funded through closure accounts, retained earnings. So a restricted closure account that were already funded to begin with. So we just took them all, combined them all, and now we don't have to add to that closure account any further. That closure account is completely funded now to cap all of Phase 9. So we're not continually adding to closure accounts. The money's already there, which is nice. And we don't have to build a liner. So it's a revenue win, so to speak, a vertical expansion. So this will likely happen more towards the end of FY '26. We need a little more time to build out that west slope and that vertical expansion. So, yeah, that would be the end of '26. So summer of spring, early spring of '26 is when we would start this project.
Okay.
Calendar year '26. I can never seem to get.
Yeah, about
I
a
get all
year,
mixed up.
from town meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's hard to keep track of all the dates.
Okay. Any questions? No. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Lyden.
And so the rail trail, I am recommending $200,000 as a CPA project, so as a CPA recreation project. And then the Red Brook Harbor Dam, $30,000 from free cash.
$30,000?
30,000.
So just for a point of clarification, I've heard two acronyms being used this morning. What's the difference between CPC and CPA?
CPC is the committee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I.
Yeah, so Community Preservation Committee is the CPC. The money is from the Act. It is the Community Preservation Act. The Act generates the tax revenue.
Great.
Sorry.
No, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure. Sir.
Thank you. Tim Lyden, Bourne Engineering. I'll start with the rail trail. This is for construction administration support. There may be other items that we need to pay for with the rail trail, but we are going to be required to be under contract with an engineer as we go into construction administration required by DOT. So as much as DOT oversees their own TIP projects and they have a resident engineer on staff on the site, we will be employing our own engineer to do construction inspections with DOT. $200,000 is a placeholder. I'm not sure what that's going to land. I do expect that amendment to come in at some point. We do have some money in the coffers, but not enough to get us to where we need to be. Going forward, we are advertising the project late this spring. We're hoping to begin construction in the fall. We do have some reviews at the DOT level that we're still looking to get through, but we're going to need that money by June in order to get where we need to get with Phase 1 of the Bourne Rail Trail.
You need the money approved.
We need the money approved, correct.
Okay. And that's for Phase 1?
This is for Phase 1.
Phase 1 of the project.
As we go into construction.
Where does Phase 1 take you to?
So Phase 1's going to get us from the train bridge down to Monument Neck Road and President's Road, where the intersection is when you come into Gray Gables.
Right now, we're not dealing with the sore thumb thing, and that is whether the rails are gonna last. It's still gonna be there. The train rails are still gonna be there.
Yes.
Yes, Phase 1, the trail has always been designed to be next to the rail line.
In Phase 1.
In Phase 1 only, we're only talking about Phase 1, yes.
So, I mean, the rail has to stay there because they need to do that. Is that's where they back up and transfer?
So far, that's what we're being told. Those are the discussions we've had, and that's how we understand it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And Red Brook Dam?
So Red Brook Dam, as well as Carter Beal, Mill Pond Dam, I think we call it, is an earthen berm. This was a line item I kind of supported out of my general budget, and it's just kind of grown a little bit more where we do need the article to kind of keep us going. Every 5 years, we do high hazard, we do hazard reports for these dams. They do structural assessments. We had Churchill Engineering do this 4 years ago. And, I'd like to shop it around, see if we can do that. So that's about $75,000 each. The other $15,000 would be to support coming up with a capital improvement program to see where we can do some reinforcements. Mill Pond Dam has a spillway as well as an auxiliary spillway that are made out of fieldstone that were from the site going back, a few hundred years now. It's in pretty good shape, but there could be some reinforcement that we'd like to make. And I'd like to have an existing conditions plan for that to know and be able to identify, different station numbers. So if we do hire somebody to come in, we can identify that without having any mystery there. Also, there are emergency action plan reports that are required by the state. Those are statutory regulations. We've done those in the past in-house. I may, depending on the cost of an existing conditions plan, may hire, contract a consultant to have some support role there, especially with creating, better maps than what I can do. Maybe some site-specific, granular survey in certain areas. And then having an existing condition plan could really help. I mean, there's a lot of grant money for dam safety throughout the country. New England doesn't really deal with the other issues that the rest of the country has, but dam safety is really supported by the federal government. So there's a lot of programs out there. If we did need funding, I'm not afraid to go get grant money for that. So that's something we could do, and that does help support that.
Now, the Red Brook Dam is over in Red Brook
Shore
Harbor?
Road. Yeah, Shore Road.
Off of Shore Road?
It's basically Shore Road at Red Brook Pond, and it comes down
Okay.
by that fish ladder where that accident was a few years ago.
Yeah.
That car hit the wing wall. We did do an assessment of that. Everything seems to be up to snuff, but I would like to have an idea of, if we made improvements, what we actually have in this area. So I'm hoping the engineer can give me an assessment of exactly what we have beyond just doing the report for the high significance thing. So the two things that keep us up at night is our bridge safety and then these two dams. These are the two things that things could go wrong.
Right.
So.
Okay. Any questions? All right, thank you very much, sir. Anything else to come before the?
The last one is DNR Shore and
Oh.
Harbor, the annual
sorry.
dredging.
Yes.
And I'm recommending $250,000 from Waterways to be placed in an article for their annual dredging.
200 and,
250,000 from Waterways, the Waterways Fund.
yeah. And where would they be dredging this year?
Good morning, Hannah Lawrence, Director of Natural Resources. So the goal of the dredging ramp and pier repair and maintenance is that, any year, any project could come up. We just did dredging at the Bassett's Island area,
Right.
the South Channel. We also have some other projects that are coming up, such as the Hen Cove Hen Cove ramp repairs, as well as likely some dredging. That's going to be part of that project as well as Taylor's Point is going to need some dredging coming up shortly, and maintenance repairs to the Barlow's Landing ramp. So there's just quite a few projects that are coming up that need to be addressed. So this request would continue to replenish that article.
So what repairs will you be doing at the Barlow's Landing ramp?
Some of the concrete there has, from folks powering on to trailers, has really dug up.
So you're
some of
talking
the
about
rebars
the ramp,
exposed.
the
Some of the
ramp
ramp,
itself?
yes, exactly.
Okay. Is that gonna be dredged out at all in that area, in the ramp area?
I
or-
don't believe that's gonna need to be dredged, just repairs to the physical ramp. We've done some patchwork, but it needs a little bit more of a permanent solution.
Okay.
Well, I have one question, it's I read the newspapers all the time, and can you get the dredging done?
It depends. We were able to get this past project done. Pretty good timing. We have obviously time of year restrictions that we're faced with, so we can get the projects done. Obviously, there's a lot of factors though, so those will come into play depending on what's going on.
Is the dredging done by the county?
The county did the past project that we had, but I think, we can certainly put that out to bid as well. Costs to do the dredging have gone up, so.
Right.
We're not obligated to use anyone, so they're an option, but we can always choose to go out to bid and get competitive prices.
Sure. Okay, great. Okay, any questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else that you have, or?
No,
Okay.
that is the list.
We're gonna get time and a half here, aren't we?
I know. You had indicated that you'd have the minutes done.
Yes.
Can we also have the minutes from the last meeting? We haven't seen those.
Yes.
And your schedule for another date for us, is that to be determined?
That's up to you, if you feel like,
Well, do
As-
you want to vote on any of this stuff now?
that's up to you. If there's anything you're ready to vote on, go right ahead while it's fresh. If you're not ready to vote, I'll be back in touch later in the month as we have any refreshed information.
Maybe we ought to have a vote meeting.
I do too.
Just a meeting, just to do a vote?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Unless there's new information, but,
yeah,
rather than, give us a chance to kind of
digest it.
digest this, and then say our next meeting is gonna be a vote meeting. We're gonna get these things taken care of.
Okay.
When
We
would
need to
you,
know when.
yeah, when would you guys like to do that?
How soon do you need it? I mean,
Your report is due by the end of December.
okay. Do you want to meet next week or the week after? Or you don't want to go any later than the week after?
No,
You want to do it on the 17th? I can do Monday, the 9th,
I can't.
okay? The Tuesday, the 17th?
right now I got that open.
Okay.
17th?
Mhm.
Okay. What time do you want to do it? I mean, do you want to be there, or you, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would prefer to be there.
Okay, so what's your schedule?
That day is pretty open for me, so we can do any time. I have a 7 o'clock.
Kind of like this morning.
Yeah. I have no problem with the morning. You want to do, can you do morning? Carol, are you available in the morning?
Depends. I'm not near my calendar, so I'd have to look and see if I have an appointment, but morning is fine normally.
Okay, so we're looking at Tuesday, the 17th at 9 AM?
Okay.
Is that good for you
Do you
guys?
want to do 10?
It's fine.
No, we can do 10.
10 would be better, right?
Okay, 10 would be better.
I'm free at either, so.
Well, right now, I don't have any doctor's appointments that day, so.
Okay, so, let's see. Do I have a motion to meet on Tuesday, December 17th at 10 a.m.?
So move.
Okay, and we have to take
Voice vote.
voice vote. Carol?
I'll vote aye.
John?
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Yes.
Unanimous? Do I have a meeting to adjourn?
I'll move that we adjourned.
Well, how about,
Time and a half.
you want to second it? Because he made it.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay. Carol?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.